Top of LD, yes, you retarded. Who said
yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking This session. And today, actually had the pleasure of being on his podcast, Trader Cobb, TraderCobb.com. He's the #1 crypto podcast in Australia. He's also an FX trader and trading cryptocurrencies. So check him out when you guys get a chance and enjoy this Kicking This session. It's your boy Crypto Blood. I'm out of here. Holla!
The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.
G'day everybody and welcome to the Trader Cobb Crypto Show. Today's guest, I've had the pleasure of actually being on his show once before in the past where we had an absolutely epic talk. I really enjoyed my time with you there, mate, and it is Crypto Blood from his YouTube channel. I appreciate having you with us today, mate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Craig. I really enjoyed you on my show, and I'm glad to be here.
Such a smooth voice there too, guys. It'd be very easy to listen here. Right, let's kick this off with a question straight away. I want to know what you were doing before crypto. Let's just touch on that for a second, yeah?
Okay. Before crypto, man, I was a web developer, still am. I run a web development company here in the States. And also before or during that, because it's been about 14 years now with the web development company, but had a passion for finance, really. Started with equities, share builders as a young adult, and moved from there to kind of, I think, E-Trade was where I went there from there. But then I found Forex, man, and that bug bit me, and I really dove really deep into the Forex world. And of course, like most, you lose all of your money. And so I did that a couple of times, but insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I didn't do that. I sat down and said, okay, let me learn how to actually trade and navigate these FX markets. So started that, had a CTA with a partner of mine in 2007. And man, it's been good. So trading and web development before crypto.
Right. Well, pretty similar story to mine, aside from the web development side of things with the loss of capital, education, that sort of thing. So I think we're the same age and been trading, but the same sort of time from my memory of the last conversation that we had. So pretty kindred spirits, shall we say. So what got you into crypto then? I mean, going from foreign exchange, like for me in 2013, I was introduced to Bitcoin, but just didn't have the volumes. I wasn't a tech type person at all. I'm still not a tech type person. I know what I know, and I'm learning every single day. But I'm a trader and a business person. That's sort of what I do. A bit of an entrepreneur in that sense. So, what got you in? What's pricked your?
Yeah, so it's a crazy story, man. I was so that night, I think about 1 o'clock in the morning. I was just reading through Zero Hedge. Came across an article about this digital currency. This was back in 2013, early 2013. And literally, Craig, that night I went out after reading that article. I went out and bought my first 10 Bitcoins.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't that night. The first night I bought maybe like 4 or 5 because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this a scam or whatever? So I found, I was able to go through the process, and I actually got my Bitcoin from doing that. So the second night I went and bought the remaining. And it's been history from there, man. And really what intrigued me is because I do have a technical background. I said, wow, someone actually was able to figure out the Byzantine conundrum where you have people on, all 4 sides communicating with one another without communicating with the other party. So that was very intriguing to me. And of course I was already in FX. So I'm like, wow, we can have a decentralized currency, man. This is like crazy. So that's what intrigued me, man. And I've just been at it ever since, really.
Wow, that is an interesting story because you bring a different perspective from the obviously understanding a little bit about the tech side of it, a hell of a lot more than I do, but also the trading side of it. For me, I didn't see that additional window open up that you saw, and that's why I left it. I was sort of very one focused, which is, look, there's no volume, there's no options for doing what I do. I'm not a tech
and that's what most people, and that's what most people did. It's not that they're dumb or anything as far as coming to cryptos a little later than others. Is that it's almost that perfect scenario where you've got to have a tech kind of background and be a little finance savvy, right? So if you had those two back then, you definitely were going to jump on it right away. And
a propensity for taking risks as well.
And yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, that was the catalyst.
Wow. And I mean, look, we've seen a pretty interesting 2018. Obviously, you've been in this space for a number of years. You've watched the highs, the lows, the highs, the lows, the constant capitulation, the constant massive pumps. You've been around long enough to sort of weather those storms and to be pretty familiar. And I would suggest probably rather comfortable with that. I'm pretty comfortable with how things are going at the moment. I've done a lot of research prior to trading it, and all you've got to do really is look at the history of it and know that this is pretty common. Of course, Bitcoin isn't dead. Crypto isn't dead. It's just a changing space. So when you first got into it, I'm imagining that I suppose your view of what this could do has probably evolved as well. So, I mean, what's your goal for the space, so to speak, and how are you contributing to that outcome?
Yeah, excellent point. It's morphed drastically, I would say, because initially back in 2013-ish, the community was all about getting away from the whole Wall Street cabal, that whole mechanism that was led up to 2008, and that was our vision. It was creating our own network, our own money, and using it as money. It was very touted as something that could be a replacement to the fiat systems that are out there. But as time has gone by, Craig, that has changed, in my opinion. We're no longer looking at Bitcoin as a means of a currency. It is more viewed and utilized as a digital asset. So if you have anything to compare it to, I would say it would be gold or a precious metal, but a digital form and better form, in my opinion, of precious metals. So that's where we are today with Bitcoin in particular. There are many, many other altcoins, and there were many, many other altcoins back in the day when I got into it as well. Most of those have died, and I see that trend repeating itself here in the next year or two. You'll see a lot of the new altcoins, I call it altcoins 2.0, will die away again. And Bitcoin and some of the main ones will probably be here to stay. But you're going to see it's a new asset class, man. It's only 10 years old. Yep. And we've got a lot to explore, learn, and grow from.
Well, Matt, I agree with you completely. And one of the interesting things that I saw, obviously last year, the talk of the town was ETF. And
oh my God, yes.
It's a very immature market in the sense that, as you quite rightly said, it's young. It's still a very young market. And it's also immature in the sense that there's a lot of investors in there that haven't had experience in traditional markets. So they don't really know how things happen. If you consider an ETF, I spoke about last year saying that the fact that there are ETFs applications being submitted tells me that there will eventually be an ETF, because typically the ball starts rolling and it doesn't stop until until it finds the basket, right? And basically what we've seen recently with the CBOE major ones sort of being shelved or pulled or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever excuse they use, down. Right?
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's just like people going, oh, wow. It's like, well, look, the fastest ever ETF approval was gold, and that was in Australia. It took 2 years. Right now,
I didn't know that.
Conversation's been going about 2 years from the very first whisper, but last year was pretty much the first actual application. So it wasn't just a whisper; there was actual applications. So these things most of them take 6 years. They take a long time to come to fruition. And Bitcoin's no different. And there's definitely a level of mistrust around Bitcoin still within major institutions and crypto in general. So I think it will come. It will just take time. And I think people spend too much time reading news and they pin their hopes on that article, but they miss the next one, which is the contrarian view, right? So how do people get smarter by, I mean, you've got to read, right? We understand reading, education is absolutely key. How do you think people can actually help themselves to get smarter, not get misinformed?
You just hit the nail on the head there with saying you have to look at the contrarian views as well. You can't just look at what you want to see, and because you'll develop. And this is what we've done in cryptos. And with my channel, I try to be very unbiased with my reporting of crypto news. And sometimes I have to jump outside of our normal channels of like CCN or Cointelegraph and stuff like that. So just to bring in that contrarian viewpoint, that's how we do it. That's how we keep an edge and keep ourselves away from that groupthink. So yeah, that's how you do it.
Just keeping an open mind to everything. And what I see a lot of is if somebody doesn't agree with X point of view, they get attacked. They try and like puff their chest out and give you all the reasons why you're wrong. Whereas the right thing to do is to go, okay, well, there's some valid points there. Why don't we explore that further? Because you know what? The biggest gem can be underneath a pile of shit and you wouldn't know it. You just got to look under the pile. You might think it's shit, but it might not be. It might be absolute gold and you're missing it because you just want to be right. And you know, you'll have learned this in trading. I mean, often I say is, would you rather be right and poor or wrong and rich? And trading and investing is not about being right all the time. It's about being good at what you do. And you can be wrong and you can change opinions. I get cooked all the time. You know, back in July, I said, I'm bullish Bitcoin because weekly, monthly, and daily had all given me signals that I liked. And we saw a $2,000 move from there. Then we saw it come off. And still to this day, I have people saying to me, oh, I remember the time when you said you were really bullish. How'd that work out? I was like, well, the thing is that it also reversed and went the other way. And I said, I'm bearish. Like
you better switch around in trading. If you're a trader, you better not have one view and stick to it. You have to adapt because conditions change. So conditions change. And therefore that's why, you know, Craig, you changed your opinion about the Bitcoin. And that's what I think many have failed to do with this space. I think partially because many people in the space became popular and rich in cryptos not last year, in 2017, and so they thought they were professionals.
Turkeys flying in hurricanes, man. Funny.
I remember you saying that. So that's what happened, and so they stick to this. Where here's the next moon, here's the next bull rally, here's all the way down, and then they sell at the bottom.
Yep. And,
so it's crazy, man. So, yeah, I agree with you.
And same, there's also been a culture around, weak hands. It's almost like the perfect opportunity for the market to give opportunity to exit. People saying, hodl, hodl, hodl. That's the war cry. Hodl your tokens, stay strong, buy the dip, don't give in, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that's just really lazy advice. And let's be honest.
It really is.
People are lazy in this space. They don't want to learn. They don't want to get educated. They want to tip. They want to buy. They want to get rich. They don't want to put any work into it. So there's a culture of entitlement. There's a culture of, if I just do nothing, it'll all work out, won't it? And if it doesn't, I'm going to blame that person for telling me about whatever it is. A huge amount of that's going on in the space. And it's not healthy. It's not positive at all.
And it's a sign of immaturity.
Absolutely.
And it shows you where we are in this space. So with kind of going back to the Bitcoin ETF, man, it's I don't see it happening for a while. One being because of the lack of liquidity in the markets. It's very fractured.
Yep.
It's a very fractured, if that's the right word, fractured market where there are pools of money just all over the place. There's no one central location to trade. So I don't know how the SEC will deal with that or force these companies to mitigate that. And then secondly, it's just the immaturity of the space is very prevalent. So the HODL method is, as you've stated, a very lazy way to think of it. And I don't know if I was on your show, if you were on my show and I said this, or I was on another podcast, but I said, you know, in the early days, hodling were people, almost, I would consider myself an original hodler as well, even though 2013 is, I think, still kind of late with it being, 2009. It was officially 2008, 2009 and came out, but you had to hodl because there was no exit.
No one to sell to.
Yeah, it really was. You know, you could go to local Bitcoins and maybe, you know, do a peer-to-peer trade or find someone online that you have trusted or whatever, but you couldn't just go to Coinbase and sell. So those were the true hodlers. These individuals, you know, in the last 2-3 years, that's not hodling, you know. So
you've got the option to exit if you've got the brains to know when.
Yep, there you go. So
so what do you think about Backed? I mean, look, I'll give you my perspective before.
Sure, go ahead.
Just so you sort of get where I'm coming from here. Obviously, the ETF was all the rage. Backed was now all the rage. You know, ICE doesn't do things in halves. Big company, big tie into traditional markets. You know, Backed is talked of February 27, I think is the date or something like that.
Yes.
And I'm not a FUD doer. I just talk it how I see it. I know they've been trying to hire XYZ, but you know, if I'm ICE and if I'm launching this seemingly massive project, I want corporate clients. That's what I need. I need to have some big market players. Now, Absolutely. If we continue to see Bitcoin fall, and we don't see any interest spike in Google rankings, even just something as simple as interest from people, business, just eyeballs on the space, we lose traffic, we lose interest, we lose price. Why would I want to launch into that? I would suggest that I probably lay off all the contractors first, have the main core, keep the core there, and just wait for your time, because you don't. I mean, you might get more than one chance to pitch this, but you got to get into the offices of these big corporations and pitch them on a project. Now, if the market's going to crap, why would you do that? So I can see Backed delaying or doing a very light join with the market. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it just seems like smart business, but I don't really know. I want another opinion.
My gut feeling is telling me that they're not going to launch on February 27th. They came out. What was it? January. One day.
I can't remember what the news was.
Earlier this month. Yeah, they came out and had a very vague, flaky excuse as to why they weren't launching. That was red flag number, I think, 2 for me, because they were supposed to launch last year, if I'm not mistaken. So now we're here, and I don't think they're going to do it. And the reason is because you know, your points are very valid as well, but one other point is volatility. You can't have an asset move 10%. Like we're in a short position. We just closed in Ethereum. In one day, it moved 13%.
Yeah, it's not insane.
Okay, so in FX, you know, there's a 1% move in FX is like a big move for the day. You know, and so Bitcoin will move 5%, 8% in a day for no reason, for no fundamental reason. So I personally don't think that it's just ready yet. I don't think it's ready yet, and that's fine. It's no need to rush this. Do it right the first time, and it will come. It will come.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point on the volatility side. I was only talking about it today about how much these markets move, and you know, we were sort of doing what I'm seeing is at the moment is quite similar to what we saw hanging around that 6,000 handle.
Yes,
6,065, and then we legged down again. Sort of seeing something similar now. Hence why, you know, before I spoke to you, we record us. You know, if I can't find a short trade, I'll probably move some into Tether. Just as a, you know, it's a smart play. I'm happy to sit out some of my position. I mean, it can go one of two ways. But if I halve my Bitcoin stack and I can buy it at, you know, if it breaks 3,000, if I can buy it at 1,800 at the next support, well, then I've effectively nearly doubled my Bitcoin on that half, right? So why would I not do that? But the risk isn't major. The reward is a big payoff. So I'm just weighing up whether I can, you know, whether a short trade presents itself. But we've definitely got, in my eyes, a lot of work to be done. But I mean, if we are going to go lower, what do you think could be the catalyst for us to start to see a bit of positive market behavior, because so far the buying that we have seen, it's been a quick spike like we saw back in sort of July through to about October. We just see this big bullish candle, say a 4 hour, and then it would come all the way off. And we see another one, and it would come all the way off. And it happened really short chunks of buying, then the selling would re-enter. What's going to switch the market's idea? You've seen this before. What's done it?
Yes.
What could be the catalyst moving forward in your eyes?
So in the past, it's different. And I said this in a video today, actually. It's funny you bring that up. I said it's different this time, but for the wrong reason, not for a not in a good way. And the reason I say that is because a fun tidbit before I explain that, February 2nd will be the day, it should be February 3rd will be the day will be in the longest bear market in Bitcoin.
Wow.
So if we stay in this trend, which I don't see us not, we will definitely be in the longest
turnaround.
It would be. But so with that being said, this go around, a lot of capital destruction occurred. See, before there weren't, you may have had a couple of companies that had maybe invested 5 million, 10 million in infrastructure or whatever, mining equipment, or, to build out an exchange. This go around, you have hundreds of millions of dollars of capital invested into this space. And it was, you see exchanges now going out of business. You see Bitmain having to lay off 80% of their staff, Consensus 50% of their staff. So it's different this time because it hurts. It hurts more. The pain is more pervasive this go around, and it's just going to take longer, in my opinion. So I see us staying in this period for maybe another 12 to 16, 18 months, going into 2020.
And when you're saying this period, is that a relatively low volatility period where we consolidate, or is it just a lot of messy markets? We go down to 1,800 or 1,000, back up to 2. How do you see it playing out? Do you think there'll be interest that will just disappear? What are we going lower before we go higher? What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts technically, and what I've been echoing all of end of 2018 was that 3,000 was the line in the sand. Okay. And the reason why is because I recall in 2017.
September. Through June, September, we retested before the big move, right?
Yes, exactly. Many people don't recognize that or remember that, but I'm a price action type of person. Yeah. I look at that and I put those mental markers in there. We tapped 3,000 and we just ripped all the way to 20. So for me, that is a line in the sand. If we break that, then I'll say, okay, yeah, we're going way lower. So as of right now, I'm kind of, if I had a portfolio I was managing for hundreds of millions or whatever, I would be neutral right now.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm with you on that, man. I think if we break 3,000, I think like 2017, because there was resistance there from June through to July. It broke, it ran to nearly 5,000. It came back. I was buying it at 3 because there was a perfect 61.8 fib level right on that level as well. And then you're right. It just took off, and it's the only horizontal level on the chart that's of any significance right now. If we break 3, the only other area then is 1,800, and it's not as strong. It's just it's a relative number to support. That's all it is.
Gotcha.
So that's why I've been using that number. If we break 3,000, I think the next level is 1,800, and it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't even look that far out. I just looked at the next major, and that's 3,000 for me. So it's 3,000, 2,800, depending on what exchange you're on. But on Coinbase is what I tracked. It was 3,000.
Yep. Same here. Coinbase has got the most volumes. That's what we look. It's also the same on Bitfinex too. I think the same.
Bitfinex, it was 3,000 there too. Yep.
So certainly a lot coming up that's going to be very interesting for the rollout of the rest of 2019. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a bounce off 3,000. Will it hold? I don't know. If we go lower, then we need to be smart and be wise on what we're doing. Either way, we've got direction, and as traders, that's what we like to see, mate. So look, before we crack over and give the guys a chance to listen to what it is that you want to do, why don't you tell them where they can find more about you, mate?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on Twitter. So it's CryptoBlood _ all one word, _ at the end. And YouTube, I do daily videos. I call them my 2 Satoshis. So I just, review news in the crypto space. And you can find me there on crypto at Crypto Blood as well. And then my website is cryptoblood.io.
Excellent. Cryptoblood.io. If you forget all the rest, go there. I'm sure all the socials are there, right?
Yep, they're all there, and also have a algo service. Again, I have a technical background, so I've built some proprietary algorithms that I have for sale as well. So for BitMEX, so you can check all that out there.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, mate. As always, good talking with you. Look forward to having you on the show again down the track. We'll see where we get to, if we hold 3,000, break 3,000. Or if we in fact, make it that far. Hopefully, we see some positivity coming through the markets this year. But as always, people need to be equipped. Hodling, time to grow up. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that's right. No hodling, people. Stop being lazy.
Stop being lazy and listen to these two guys talking to you right now. Thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate your time. And to all the viewers and listeners, bye for now.
Peace.
The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.